Wait! Before we start, do you want a bundle of 30 printable English PDF cheat sheets? Teaching you words and phrases for conversations for free? Then click the link in the description and sign up for a free lifetime account to get access.
It's really quiet today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the rain. Nobody wants to walk outside in this weather.
That's true. It's nice for me, though. I can finally clean the espresso machine properly. Do you want another coffee, or are you okay with that one?
I'm okay for now, thanks. I'm actually just looking through some old files on my phone.
Oh? Working on a case?
No, nothing like that. I'm off duty today. No police work. My mom sent me a message. She scanned a bunch of old family photos and sent them to me. I haven't seen these pictures in years.
Really? I love looking at old photos. It's like traveling back in time. Can I see?
Sure. Be careful, though. I look very different. You might not recognize me.
Now I have to see. Show me the best one.
Okay, look at this one. This was, wow, maybe 15 years ago?
Let me see. Oh, look at you. You were so small. Is that you in the middle?
Yeah, that's me. I was about 9 years old there.
You look serious. You aren't smiling.
I know. I was trying to be like my dad. That's him standing behind me.
The man in the uniform? He looks very tall and very strong.
He was. He was a police officer too. Well, he's retired now. But back then, he was very strict. You can see it in his face, right? He didn't smile very often in photos.
He has a very kind face, though, even if he isn't smiling. I like his mustache. It's a very classic style.
Yeah, the mustache. He had that mustache my whole life. He finally shaved it off last year. It was a big shock for the family. We didn't recognize him.
So, where was this photo taken? It looks like a forest.
It was a camping trip. We used to go camping every summer. My dad loved the outdoors. He wanted to teach me everything. How to build a fire, how to set up a tent, how to read a map.
That sounds fun. I love being outside.
It was fun, but it was also work. See how my shirt is perfectly tucked in?
Yeah?
That was a rule. Always look neat, Jake. Clean your boots, Jake. He treated our camping trips like a training camp. Maybe that's why I became a physical training instructor at the academy. I'm used to the discipline.
It makes sense. You followed in his footsteps.
Exactly. But I don't make my students tuck their shirts in while we are camping. I'm a little more relaxed than he was.
That's good. Camping should be relaxing.
Wait, let me find another one. This one is funny. It's completely different. Here, look at this disaster.
No way! Is that you?
Yes, unfortunately, that is me.
Oh my gosh! Look at your hair. It's purple.
It was electric violet. That's what the box said. I was 16. I was in high school.
And you have earrings. And look at that t-shirt. It's so big.
It was my rebellious phase. You know, when teenagers want to break the rules. I didn't want to be a police officer then. I wanted to be a rock star.
A rock star? You?
Yes, I played the drums. I was in a garage band. We were terrible. We made so much noise. My poor neighbors.
This is amazing. You look so different from now. Now you have short hair, you wear a uniform, you're very polite. In this photo, you look like a wild person.
I felt like a wild person. I remember that day. It was a Saturday. We were practicing for a school concert. I thought I was so cool.
What did your dad say about the purple hair? If he was strict, he probably didn't like it.
He hated it. He didn't shout, though. He just looked at me, shook his head, and said, "Jake, you look like a grape."
A grape. That's funny.
Yeah, I kept the purple hair for 2 weeks. Then I had to cut it for a family wedding. I missed that hair. But looking at it now, I think short hair is better for me.
I agree. But it's a great memory. It shows you have a fun side.
I still have a fun side. I still play the drums sometimes. Just not with purple hair.
Do you have any photos of where you grew up? I'm from Portland, so everything here in the city looks so different to me.
Actually, yes. This album has a lot of scenery photos. My mom loves taking pictures of buildings and parks. Let me scroll down.
Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free English ebook before it's gone.
Okay, look at this one. Do you recognize this street?
Let me look closely. There's a bakery on the corner and a tall brick building. Wait, is that the Triple Almond apartment building?
Yes, that's our building. But look at the date on the photo.
2010. Wow, it looks so clean.
It was practically new back then. Or well, it had just been painted. See the shop on the ground floor?
Yeah, it's a dry cleaner's in the photo. But now, wait, that's this coffee shop.
Exactly. Before this was a coffee shop, it was Dan's Dry Cleaning. I used to come here with my dad to pick up his uniforms.
That is so weird. I'm standing in a dry cleaner's right now.
Basically, the counter was in the same place, but the walls were white, not brown, and it smelled like chemicals, not coffee. I prefer the coffee smell.
Me too, definitely.
And look at the street. There are no bike lanes.
You're right, just cars. It looks more dangerous.
It was. The city has changed a lot. They added the bike lanes and planted more trees about 5 years ago. It's much nicer now.
It's funny how photos freeze time. You forget how things used to look.
Yeah. My mom took this photo from across the street. We lived on the 3rd floor back then.
Wait, you lived in the Triple Almond building when you were a kid?
Yeah. We moved out when I was 12 to a house in the suburbs. But when I got the job at the police academy, I moved back in. I'm in apartment 4B now.
No way! I'm in 4D. We're neighbors?
Really? 4D? That's down the hall on the left, right?
Yes, the one with the green doormat.
I walk past that door every day. I never knew that was you. I guess our shifts are different. I leave really early in the morning for physical training.
And I leave later to open the shop. That's crazy. Small world.
It is. So, you've seen the building now. It's old, but it has character.
It does. My heater makes a strange noise, and the windows rattle when it's windy, but I like it. It feels like home.
It does. It has a lot of memories for me.
Do you have any more photos? Maybe one of your mom?
Yeah, here. This is a nice one. This was at a picnic.
Oh, she's lovely. She has a very bright smile. And look at the food. Is that a birthday cake?
It was my sister's birthday. See the little girl in the pink dress? That's my sister.
She looks so happy. And your mom is holding a... what is that? A guitar?
No, that's a ukulele. My mom loves playing instruments. She actually tried to teach me, but my hands were too big. I couldn't play the chords. That's why I chose the drums. You hit things with sticks. It's easier.
I don't think drums are easy. You need rhythm.
True, but you don't need delicate fingers.
Your family looks really close in these pictures. Everyone is together.
We are. We had our problems, of course. My dad was strict. I was rebellious. My sister was Well, she was loud. But looking at these photos, I only remember the good stuff.
That's the best thing about photos. They keep the good memories safe.
Yeah. You know, I don't take enough photos now. I have a smartphone with a great camera, but I mostly take pictures of documents or my car. I don't take pictures of people.
We should change that. We are too busy working. We forget to capture the moment.
You're right. Hey, since we are neighbors and we are both here, do you want to take a photo for the new album?
Sure, but let me fix my hair first. The rain made it a little messy.
It looks fine. You look great. Come on, stand next to the coffee machine. It's your natural habitat.
Natural habitat. Okay, ready.
Okay, say triple almond.
Triple almond.
Let's see. Hey, that's actually a good picture.
Let me see. Oh, I like it. The lighting is nice. And you are smiling. A real smile, not the serious police officer face.
I guess the coffee helps. I'll send it to you.
Thanks. I have an album in my phone called City Life. This will be perfect for it.
Speaking of city life, looking at that old photo of our building made me think.
About what?
About how much I missed this neighborhood when I lived in the suburbs. It was quiet there. Too quiet. Here, you have noise, people, traffic. But you also have community.
I know what you mean. In Portland, I lived near the mountains. It was beautiful, really beautiful. I went bouldering every weekend, but sometimes it felt a little lonely. Here, I can walk downstairs and talk to people.
Exactly. Like today. If I were in the suburbs, I would be sitting alone in my house watching TV. But here, I'm drinking coffee and looking at old photos with a friend.
A friend and a neighbor.
Right, a neighbor.
So, about your camping hobby, you said you still go?
Yeah, I try to go once a month. Usually to the state park. Why?
Well, since you like camping and I like bouldering, maybe we could organize a trip sometime? The state park has some great rocks for climbing.
That's a great idea. I haven't tried bouldering before. Is it hard?
It's a challenge. It's like a puzzle for your body. You have to figure out how to move up. But you're a PT instructor. You're strong. You'll be fine.
A puzzle for your body. I like that description. Okay, I'm interested, but only if we can make a fire afterwards. I make excellent campfire food.
Deal. I can't cook, so that works perfectly.
You can make coffee, though. We'll bring a portable coffee pot.
Now you are talking. That sounds like the perfect weekend. Oh, a customer. The slow day is over.
Back to reality. I should probably get going anyway. I need to go to the grocery store before I go back to the apartment.
Okay. Thanks for showing me the photos, Jake. It was really nice to meet Mini Jake and Purple Hair Jake.
Please forget about purple hair Jake. Just remember the neighbor Jake.
I'll try. See you around the building.
See you, Lisa. Have a good shift.
Purple hair. I definitely won't forget that.
Okay, Michelle, focus. The map says turn left at the post office. Or, wait, is that a post office? It looks like a bank. This smartphone map is useless today. The blue dot isn't moving. I'm going to be late.
Excuse me? You look a little lost. Do you need some help? Oh, hey, it's you. Michelle, right? From the building?
Oh, you scared me. Yes, it's Michelle. You're Jake, right? From the Triple Almond Apartments?
That's right. The Triple Almond. Best apartment building in the city, right?
Well, the rent is good at least. It's nice to see a familiar face, Jake. I usually see you in uniform. I almost didn't recognize you in your jogging clothes.
Yeah, it's my day off. I just finished a run around the park. I try to stay fit for work. You know how it is at the police academy.
Oh, right. You're a physical training instructor there. That sounds exhausting.
It can be, but I love it. Anyway, what are you doing out here? You look a bit stressed.
Stressed is the perfect word. I'm not working today. I decided to have a nice, relaxing culture day. You know, visit a gallery, drink some tea, clear my head.
That sounds great. Lawyers work hard, so you need a break.
Exactly. But I'm completely turned around. I'm looking for this specific place. It's called the Velvet Curtain. Have you heard of it?
The Velvet Curtain. The Velvet Curtain. That sounds familiar. Is it a theater?
It's sort of a mix. It's a tea house, but they have a small stage for acting and poetry readings. I heard it's a great place for actors to practice.
Actors? Do you like acting? I thought you were a lawyer.
I am a lawyer, but acting is my hobby. I love being on stage. It helps me relax. When I'm acting, I don't have to worry about contracts or court dates. I can just be someone else for a while.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. It's good to have a creative hobby.
Thanks. What about you? Do you have any hobbies, or is it just exercise all the time?
Well, I do love exercise, but my real hobby is camping. I love getting out of the city, sleeping in a tent, and making a fire. It's so quiet.
That sounds peaceful. Maybe I should try that sometime. But right now, I just want to find this tea house. My map app says it's right here, but I only see a shoe store and a bakery.
Let me see. Okay. I see where you are. Yeah, these maps are tricky in this neighborhood. The streets are very narrow, and the tall buildings block the signal.
So, am I close?
You're close, but you're on the wrong side of the block. The Velvet Curtain isn't on the main street. It's actually hidden.
Hidden?
Yeah, it's one of those hidden gems. The entrance is really small. If you don't know where to look, you'll walk right past it.
Great. No wonder I couldn't find it. I've been walking in circles for 20 minutes.
Don't worry, I can help you. I actually know a shortcut. It's a bit of a local secret. Do you mind walking a little bit more?
Not at all. Please, lead the way. I'm tired of staring at this screen.
All right, let's go. We need to cross the street first.
Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free English ebook before it's gone.
So we're going to go down this side street here, next to the flower shop.
The one with the red tulips outside?
That's the one. See that small alleyway right after the shop?
That tiny alley? It looks dark.
It looks dark, but it opens up into a really nice courtyard. Trust me, it's the fastest way. If we stay on the main road, we have to walk all the way around the shopping center.
Okay, I trust you. You're the police officer after all.
Exactly. I'm trained to know the city.
Oh, wow. It's much quieter in here. The city noise just disappeared.
Nice, right? I take this route when I jog sometimes. It's peaceful. So, Michelle, how long have you lived at the Triple Almond?
About 2 years now. I moved to DC for my job. Being a lawyer here is intense. There is always so much paperwork.
I bet. I see you leaving the building early in the morning sometimes. You always have a big coffee in your hand.
I can't function without coffee. What about you? How long have you been there?
Just over a year. It's a great location. Close to the academy, close to the parks. And the neighbors are nice.
They are. Except for the guy on the third floor who plays the drums at midnight.
Oh, I know him. That's terrible. I knocked on his door once to complain, but he couldn't hear me because the music was too loud.
That sounds about right.
Okay, here we are. This is the courtyard I told you about.
This is beautiful. I didn't know this park was back here. Look at those trees.
It's a nice spot. Okay, to get to the velvet curtain, we need to go straight through this park. Then we'll see a fountain.
Straight through the park. Got it.
At the fountain, we need to turn right. There's a big brick building. It used to be a library. The tea house is actually behind that building.
Behind the old library. That is tricky.
Yeah, most people try to enter from the front street, but the door is locked there. You have to go around the back.
You really know your way around. Do you come to this neighborhood often?
Pretty often. There's a camping supply store near here. I go there to buy gear for my trips.
You really love camping. Where do you usually go?
Usually up to the mountains. It's only a few hours away by car. The air is so fresh. You should really try it. It's good for stress.
Maybe I will, but I don't have any gear. No tent, no sleeping bag.
You can rent it, or you can borrow mine. I have an extra tent.
That's very generous of you, Jake. I might take you up on that offer someday. But first, I need to master the art of finding a tea house in the city.
One step at a time. Okay, look. There's the fountain up ahead.
Oh, I see it. The one with the stonefish?
That's the one. So, remember, which way do we turn?
We turn right, toward the brick building.
Perfect. You're a natural navigator.
I have a good guide. That helps. So, Jake, tell me more about your job. Is it hard being an instructor?
It can be challenging. The new recruits, the students, are very young. Sometimes they don't listen. They think they know everything.
That sounds frustrating.
It takes patience. But when they finally succeed, when they pass the physical test, it feels amazing. I feel proud of them.
You sound like a good teacher.
I try to be. It's similar to being a lawyer, I guess. You help people solve problems, right?
In a way, I help them navigate the law. It's like a giant maze, kind of like these streets.
Exactly. The law is a maze, and the city is a maze. We are both professional guides.
I like that comparison.
Okay, watch your step here. The sidewalk is a bit uneven.
Thanks. So, is that the brick building?
Yes, that's the old library. Now, look closely. Do you see that green awning? The little roof made of fabric?
The green one? Oh, way down there? Between the two dumpsters?
Yeah, sorry. It's not the most glamorous location, but that's the entrance.
Wow, I never would have found that. It doesn't even have a sign.
There is a small sign on the door, but it's tiny. That's why it's a secret.
Well, I'm glad I ran into you. Seriously. I would be in a taxi going home by now if you hadn't helped me.
I'm happy to help. It was nice to catch up, Michelle. We live in the same building, but we never really talk.
I know. We're both so busy. We should grab a coffee sometime. In the building, I mean. Not on a secret adventure through the alleys.
That sounds great. I'm usually free on Sunday mornings.
Sunday mornings work for me.
Great. Well, I should probably finish my run. I need to get back before it starts raining. The sky looks a little gray.
Oh, you're right. I hope I don't get stuck in the rain.
You'll be fine. You're inside now. Enjoy the tea and the acting.
Thanks, Jake. Have a good run.
See you around the Triple Almond.
What a nice guy. Okay, Let's see this hidden gem.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about how to use the word once. Let's get started. For this lesson, I have 3 categories of meaning for the word once. We'll break these down. And then I have 1 list of expressions that feature the word once. So we'll take a look at the specific meanings of this word, and then we'll look at some special meanings at the end of the lesson. So let's start with the first meaning. The first meaning of once is one time, one time. So let's take a look at these example sentences and break down how the word once is used here. First example, I've been to Europe once. I've been to Europe once. In this example sentence, once comes at the end of the sentence and means exactly one time. So we could replace the word once with one time, and the sentence would still be correct and it would have the same meaning. I've been to Europe one time. So this is probably the most common use of once. Let's take a look at the next example sentence. She said she rode a horse once when she was a little kid. She said she rode a horse once when she was a little kid. So again, with this use of once, we can replace once with one time, and the sentence keeps the meaning. She said she rode a horse one time when she was a little kid. So again, this use of once means one time only. Okay? Let's continue to the next example sentence now. Can you keep a secret just this once? Can you keep a secret just this once? So I wanted to include this example sentence for this part right here, just this once. It's like saying just this one time or this one time only. So sometimes when people want to make a special request, they'll use the expression just this once or please do this just once. It sounds like just one time. Please do this thing just one time. So this is one example. Can you keep a secret just this once? It's like saying, I only want to ask this of you one time. So again, we can simply replace this word once with one time and we keep the meaning, but once is a little bit more efficient. Okay, let's continue on to the last 2 examples. The last 2 examples use negatives, which I think are very important to talk about with this word too. Let's take a look. First, my date didn't ask me a question once. My date didn't ask me a question once. So in this situation, the speaker is talking about their date. So the person they went on a date with. We call the other person our date. So in this situation, we have a negative. The person didn't ask me a question once. So the same one time meaning applies here. That means, this sentence means, my date didn't ask me a question even one time. So this use of once that we often see with this negative form tends to take the feeling of even one time. Like we're kind of surprised or shocked in some way. You have some expectation, right? If you go on a date with someone, you expect probably they're going to ask you some questions, right? So this person is expressing some shock and surprise. Not even one time is what this sentence expresses. Let's look at another example of this kind of once. We worked so hard to cook a nice dinner, but our guests didn't comment on the food even once. So again, we worked so hard to cook a nice dinner, but our guests didn't comment on the food even once. So again, this once is like saying one time, and again, we have this even feeling here. In this case, I included the word even. So again, we're emphasizing we expected some comment about the food. We worked really hard to cook it, so you think maybe the other person will have some comment about it. This is so delicious. Where did you find the recipe? What's in this? And so on. There are many comments we can make, so we probably expect some kind of comment when we make something for someone else. But the speaker is expressing surprise or shock. They didn't comment even one time, is what this expresses. So you can use these negative patterns to express that kind of shock. And we sometimes do this. And it really helps us see, like, wow, this person didn't meet expectations at all. So all of these sentences express the meaning of one time, literally just one time, one instance of something. Okay, with this in mind, let's continue to the second group, the second category for meaning for this lesson. This category is formerly, or at a past point in time. So a key here, something that you can use as kind of a hint, is that often this use of once refers to something that happened in the past, in the far past. Not like yesterday or last week, but when you're talking about history, for example, you might see this use of once. So let's break down these example sentences. This city was once very popular for its exciting nightlife. This city was once very popular for its exciting nightlife. So this once, you'll notice it appears in the middle of the sentence. It comes after this was, right? So we're talking about a past condition or a past status of the city. This city was once. So this position here shows us in context as well that it's not so much about one time, as in one instance of something, but rather one time in terms of a past point in time. So we're not talking about like one case of something, we're talking about one past point in time. So in this situation, we can replace once with formerly. This city was formerly very popular. Or we could say, this city was, at a past point in time, very popular for its exciting nightlife. The nuance here, then, is that this fact has changed. So in the past, at a point in time, it was very popular for its exciting nightlife. However, now, it's not popular for its nightlife. So we use this once often to emphasize some kind of change from a condition in the past. Let's look at one more example. Her company was once a fun, relaxed place to work. Her company was once a fun, relaxed place to work. So again, we have this once here. This refers to a past point in time or a former condition. So this sentence is saying, in the past, at a past point in time, her company was a fun and relaxed place to work. So the nuance here is now it's not a fun, relaxed place to work. Maybe it's very stressful and it's very difficult. So this use of once refers to some kind of past point in time. You can kind of see the context is very different here. We're talking about very different topics over here. We're talking about a city, a company, some kind of condition. Whereas when we talked about one-time experiences, we're talking about travel, conversations, personal experiences, and so on. These aren't so much about conditions. Here, we're talking about conditions a bit more. So that's another context hint you can use to help you understand which once is the meaning here. Okay, let's continue to the last use, the last category of meaning. It's as soon as, as soon as. So let's break down these examples. First, call me once you finish work. Call me once you finish work. A very, very common request. So in this case, we can substitute as soon as for once here. Call me as soon as you finish work is also 100% correct, but once is a little more efficient. So this once, you'll notice, comes after a verb expression, yeah? It's like a command. Call me once you finish work. This is saying, call me the moment you finish work, or in other words, as soon as you finish work. It's like asking for a very quick thing to happen once or as soon as something else is complete. So when this is done, please do this. We can use once to do this very efficiently to communicate this. Okay, let's look at the next example of this meaning. He can make the rent payment once he gets paid. He can make the rent payment once he gets paid. So in this case, the topic is paying rent. So to make a rent payment means to give the person who owns your house or who owns your apartment money for the month. That's the rent payment. He can make the rent payment once he gets paid. Once he gets paid. So again, we have this as soon as meaning here. So he can make the rent payment. This will happen after he gets paid. So when this happens, the rent payment will be made. We use once to express this sequence. As soon as A, B. We use once to do this. Okay, so these are the 3 most common uses of once generally. There are a couple of other uses that are a bit less common, and they're kind of specific to certain situations, but in most cases, these 3 will be great for everyday communication. So keep in mind some of the context clues that I talked about here. Personal experiences and conversations for one time, conditions and statuses for past points in time, and verbs, actions for as soon as. Okay, great. So now let's move along to some expressions that feature once. These are some very common expressions that use the word once, and the meanings are sometimes very different from those we discussed earlier in the lesson. So let's break them down. First, we have at once. At once. This means immediately or right away. It can also, in some more formal situations, it might sound a little old-fashioned, it can also be used to mean both. So let's take a look at some example sentences. First, call an ambulance at once. Call an ambulance at once. So an ambulance is an emergency medical car. So there's an emergency, call an ambulance at once. Means call an ambulance right now, immediately. It's important. So we can use at once to express this. One more, he came home at once. He came home immediately. He came home right away. So at once expresses this feeling of doing something immediately at the moment. Lastly, I want to give one example of this both use. So this example, as I said, sounds a little bit old-fashioned and we don't use it so much. Maybe we'll see it in writing, some writing pieces somewhere, but we don't use it as much in everyday communication. Let's take a look though. The song was at once sad and beautiful. The song was at once sad and beautiful. So this means both. The song was both sad and beautiful. So this at once, if you look at it and you think, does this mean immediately? Does this mean right away? It doesn't seem to make sense in this situation. Like immediately? The song was immediately sad and beautiful? It sounds strange, right? So this at once is kind of like saying at the same time or simultaneously. The song was simultaneously sad and beautiful. So again, as I said, this isn't so commonly used today, but you might see it from time to time. Okay, let's move on to the next expression. The next expression is once and for all. Once and for all. We use this typically after we've been working on a challenge for a while, or we've been trying to solve a problem, we've been working hard as a sports team or as a company, something like that, and we get to the last step. We want to make a statement about the last step or the final step. We use once and for all sometimes to do this. So this expression is like saying definitely or finally or for the last time. So let's look at our examples. First, let's win the game and show everyone we're the best team once and for all. Let's win the game and show everyone we're the best team once and for all. So this is something a sports team might say at the championship game, the last game of the year. So let's show them we're the best team once and for all. It sounds like we want to show other people that we are the best. We are here at the last stage. We're going to do this for the last time. Let's make it big. That's kind of the feeling of once and for all. Let's look at one more example. Her great plan solved the company's sales problems once and for all. Her great plan solved the company's sales problems once and for all. So in this example sentence, we know the problem. The company has some kind of sales problem, and this person created a great plan. So her great plan solved this problem finally at the end after lots and lots of struggles, once and for all. So it's kind of like saying, you can think of this once part as kind of like being with one action or one instance or one case, the problem was solved or they were able to overcome the challenge forever. That's kind of one way to understand this. With one movement or with one action, they were able to make a change forever. That's kind of the feeling of once and for all. Okay, let's move on to our next expression. The next one, you may already know, it's every once in a while. Every once in a while. Please note, native speakers sometimes write every once and a while. Incorrect. Every once in a while. In a while. So this expression means sometimes or occasionally. We like to use it in very casual conversations, and we usually say it very quickly, every once in a while. So let's break it down. I like to go to the movies every once in a while. I like to go to the movies every once in a while. We can replace every once in a while with sometime, and it creates exactly the same meaning. Again, every once in a while just sounds a little bit more casual. Yeah, I like to go to the movies every once in a while. That's how a native speaker would probably use this expression. One more. We eat at expensive restaurants every once in a while. We eat at expensive restaurants every once in a while. So again, we're expressing this feeling of occasionally, every once in a while. Again, this is a set expression, which just means sometimes. So, okay, let's continue to the last one. The last one is actually two, but they have the same meaning. So they are once again and once more. Once again and once more. These both mean one more time. One more time. So I wanted to include these because I know lots of learners like to request from their teacher, can you say that once more? Or can you say that one more time? Just be careful not to mix them. Sometimes I hear learners say like, once more time, something like that, or just one more. No, neither of those are really correct. Make sure to say, can you say that once more? Or can you say that one more time? So once again and once more both mean to do something one more time. So our examples. First, once again, thank you for coming today. Once again, thank you for coming today. So we sometimes do this when we're giving presentations to mean, I already said this, but I'm going to say it one more time. This is usually done, like I said, in presentation and speaking situations. And in this case, typically, the expression comes at the beginning of the sentence. Also, sometimes people will use this expression when they feel frustrated. Like if someone asks a question repeatedly, they get the same question many, many times, or if there's a rude behavior or something like that, that person in charge, they might use once again to express their frustration, to say, once again, please no talking during the presentation, something like that. So that kind of tone with this expression means I have to say this again, I'm saying it again. So please pay attention to the speaker's tone. Sometimes it's very happy, right? Once again, thank you for coming. That sounds good. But sometimes we use this expression to show that we are tired of saying the same thing again. Like, once again, please be quiet. Something like that. So please keep an eye out, I guess, keep an ear out for the speaker's tone. Okay, last example is, let's practice this part once more. Let's practice this part once more. So again, let's practice this part one more time. We can use the two interchangeably. Or we could say, let's practice this part once again. So these all mean one more time. It's up to you to choose whichever you prefer. Just as I said, make sure not to mix them, not once more time or just one more. Make sure to say once more or one more time. Okay, great. So I hope that this lesson helped you to understand the different ways that we use the word once. In lots of situations, we use it to mean just one time. Sometimes we use it to talk about past points in time, past conditions. Sometimes it means as soon as, and of course we have many expressions that also use once. And there are other expressions I didn't cover in this lesson, but I can hopefully cover them at a future point in time. Awesome, so I hope this video helped you to be able to use the word once with a little more confidence. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to practice making some sentences with the word once, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Also, if you like this lesson, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Also, check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye! Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, we're going to look at how to use apostrophes. Let's get started. Okay, in this lesson, I want to talk about two basic uses of the apostrophe. The things I'm going to talk about in this lesson will cover most basic uses of the apostrophe. There are two categories of use. We're going to look at showing possession, and we're going to look at contractions to show the missing letters in words. Let's start by showing possession with apostrophes. So, to show possession with an apostrophe, you can use apostrophe S after a noun. So this expresses that something belongs to the noun. So let's look at some very basic examples of this. First, my teacher's pen. In this example, we have my teacher as the noun that we have to show possession for. We have the apostrophe here, and then it's followed by S. Next is pen. This shows that the pen is owned by my teacher. We can use apostrophe S to demonstrate this. Let's look at the next example. His sister's car. His sister's car. In this sentence, sister is the person owning something, or rather, his sister. So again, apostrophe S shows the ownership in this situation. The car is owned by his sister. Let's look at the last basic example. It's my father's wallet. My father's wallet. Again, we have apostrophe S after the owner of the object. So here, my father is the owner of the wallet. So we can use apostrophe S to show ownership in this way. But there are some very important rules to keep in mind to make sure that you always express this ownership clearly and correctly. So let's take a look at 2 key rules for you to follow. Okay, first, number 1, if it's a singular noun, so this means if you want to show the possession of something that is a singular noun, that means just one thing or just one person, add apostrophe S to make it plural. Okay? This is true even if the singular noun ends in S. So this part right here is sometimes confusing even for native speakers. You learn sometimes I shouldn't put another S after the noun. When should I do that? I don't know. So this is the rule. So if it's a singular noun, add apostrophe S to make it plural. So let's look at some examples of this. First, the business's plan. The business's plan. In this situation, business is our noun. We want to express something that is owned by the business. So business ends with an S, but it's a singular noun, one business, right? We still have to add apostrophe S to make it plural. I'm sorry, we still have to add apostrophe S to show ownership. This is a singular noun. We're not making it plural here. The business's plan. So this shows the plan owned by the business. Okay, let's look at another example of this. His bus's schedule. His bus's schedule. So again, bus is a singular noun that ends with S. We still have to follow this rule. We add apostrophe S after the bus to show ownership. So this schedule belongs to the bus, or his bus in this case. So it's some kind of connection we're showing here. Here's one more example of this S rule. Her dress's color. Her dress's color. So again, dress is our singular noun. It ends in S. We still have to put apostrophe S to show ownership. So in this case, the dress doesn't actually own the color, of course, but the color is a quality that belongs to the dress. So even if your singular noun ends in S, you need to put an apostrophe S after it to show possession, to show ownership. We saw the same thing up here. So these singular nouns do not end in S, but we have to follow the same rule. So this one is an easy one, right? If you're just talking about one of something, one noun, just put apostrophe S after it to show ownership. Okay, great. So let's continue on to rule number 2. Rule number 2 is a little bit trickier than rule number 1. So let's take a look. Okay, for rule number 2, if it's a plural noun, so plural means more than one of something, if it's a plural noun, use an apostrophe after the S, that means no additional S after it, unless the plural noun does not end in S. So this is kind of tricky. Let's break down what this means. So plural nouns, generally, when we create a plural noun, we simply add S to the end of the noun to make it plural, right? Like teacher becomes teachers, right? Or sister becomes sisters, or father becomes fathers, right? More than one of something. We add an S to the end of it. So if it's a plural noun that follows this rule, just add an apostrophe after the S. You don't need to add apostrophe plus S, just one apostrophe. And it's done, it's finished, it's good. Unless, however, there is an exception, unless the plural noun doesn't end in S. So there are some plural nouns that don't end in S, right? They're special nouns, right? So we'll see an example of this here. So let's take a look at these kinds of examples that we have and break down what's happening. So first one, my parents' house. My parents' house. So in this example, my parents is the noun. This is the plural noun, 2 people, parents, right? And we have an apostrophe after the S. In this situation, there's no extra S after this because it follows this rule. So the plural noun, parents in this case, just gets an apostrophe here like this, okay? So my parents' house, this shows the house that belongs to my parents. Okay, let's look at the next example. The next example are children's grades. Our children's grades. So this is an example of the exception here. So children is an example of a plural noun that does not end in S, right? We have one child, two children, right? So this is a plural noun that does not end in S. In this situation, we need to use apostrophe S, just as we did with rule number 1, right? So in this situation, when you have a plural noun that doesn't end in S, make sure to add that apostrophe S. So if you want to talk about other things like mice, for example, so the mice is something, we need to add that apostrophe S. So this is a good one to keep in mind when you're writing a sentence that uses those plural nouns that are kind of irregular, okay? Let's go to the last example, the students' party. The students' party. So here again, we have a regular plural noun. It's just student plus S, right? Students. We again put the apostrophe after students. No additional S because it follows the basic rule right here. So no exception in this case. So keep this one in mind. This one requires a little bit more thought. Just consider that S at the end. Plural noun or singular noun. Those are kind of the two things it's important to keep in mind with this. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about for showing possession, using apostrophes to show possession. Let's go now to part 2. So the other part of today's lesson is using apostrophes to show contraction. So a contraction is the short form or the reduced form of two words generally. So we use apostrophes to show or to kind of represent missing letters. That's one way that you can think of the apostrophe use here. So apostrophes can be used to show the missing letters in words. So what does this mean? Let's take a look at some examples. For example, when we write do not in the reduced form or the contracted form, we use this spelling, right? Don't, D-O-N apostrophe T. So you can think of this apostrophe as kind of a replacement for the letter that's missing, right? So we have do not. O is missing here. It's kind of like we're showing the O is gone with the apostrophe. So don't. Here's another example. We are. We are becomes we're, right? So again, we have a letter missing. In this case, it's the A. We are becomes we're. So the apostrophe shows where that letter used to be. One more example, I am, this becomes I'm. Again, we have a missing letter. The A used to be right here. We have an apostrophe there instead. So apostrophes can be used in this way to show that letters are missing from a word. So these are extremely, extremely common. You probably know about these already. But I also want to talk about another use that's typically done in books and other stories, those kinds of things. Sometimes this apostrophe, this missing letter apostrophe, is used at the end of a word, or sometimes even in the middle. It's a little bit rare. Usually this is at the end of a word. But sometimes you'll see an apostrophe at the end of a word to express a way of speaking. So this kind of tends to sound a little more casual, or sometimes this is used to indicate like a character's certain way of speaking. So let's look at some examples so you can see what I mean here. Here's one. I'm thinking about what to make for dinner. I'm thinking about what to make for dinner. So first we have this contracted form, right? The apostrophe here. And then we have this, thinkin', thinkin'. Here, the apostrophe is at the end of the word. So we tend to see this use a lot in ing verbs, actually, verbs that end in ing to show that the G sound is not clearly pronounced. So I'm thinking about what to make for dinner. So this thinkin' is a little bit different from thinking, right? I'm thinking about what to make for dinner would be the standard way to say this, right? But this thinkin' sounds a little bit more casual. People may choose to use this kind of thinking to express a certain kind of casual level of speaking or to express a kind of accent, something like that. So that's what this apostrophe at the end of an ing verb means. It means that G sound is missing. Let's look at another example. We've been walking for hours. We've been walking for hours. So here again, we have this basic contraction. We've been walking for hours. So again, there's this apostrophe at the end of this ing word, right? And the G is missing. So the apostrophe is showing us something is missing and we've cut the word off early. So walking becomes walkin'. Walkin'. We've been walking for hours. So this expresses a kind of rough or casual manner of speaking. One more. You're working hard. You're working hard. You might hear people say this to you at work, like your coworkers might make this comment to you. You're working hard. Again, we have a basic contraction here. You're, you are, right? And here, working. So the standard spelling is working with a G at the end. We have this apostrophe here that shows something is missing. You're working hard. So this sounds kind of more casual, a little more friendly than you're working hard. Okay, so that's what you might see occasionally. Usually we see this in texts like stories and maybe novels, maybe short stories or essays, that kind of thing. But oftentimes people like to speak this way and sometimes they want to text that way as well too. So if you see this in like a text message or something, that's what this apostrophe at the end of the word means. And as I said, you might see it in the middle, I suppose, in certain places. You might even see it at the very beginning of a word, but that's an indicator, that's a sign that someone has cut off, usually like a letter or something like that, a very small sound, and they're showing that with the apostrophe. Okay, great. So those are the two key points that I want to talk about for this lesson. We use apostrophes to show possession, and we use apostrophes for contractions to show missing letters. I want to finish this lesson by covering a very common couple of questions, some very common errors, some problem points for learners and for native speakers. This question box right here shows them. There are the differences between it's with an apostrophe, it's with no apostrophe, and whose with an apostrophe S and whose, H-O-S-E at the end here. What is the difference? So let's talk about its and its first. IT apostrophe S means it is. It is. IT no apostrophe S is the possessive. So this is an exception to what I talked about over here. Of course, that's like kind of hard for you to remember, I know, but thankfully it's just this one. There's only one that you need to remember this exception for. So it's with no apostrophe is the possessive form, okay? It is this it with an apostrophe S at the end. So this is one tricky one to remember, okay? Then the second one, this whose question. So W-H-O apostrophe S means who is. Who is. W-H-O-S-E is the possessive. So whose bag is this? Right? We're asking about someone's possession. Whose bag is this? Whose marker is this? We use this W-H-O-S-E word to do that. Whose with an apostrophe S means who is, like who's he talking to, right? That's not a question of possession. So these words sound exactly the same when we are speaking, right? But it's important to remember that they are very different on paper. So keep these small differences in mind because they do matter. Okay, great. So this is a quick introduction to how to use apostrophes. This is a very basic introduction to this very important punctuation mark, but these rules will help you in the majority of situations. So keep this in mind. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to practice making some apostrophe words, feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Also, if you like this lesson, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Also, check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I will see you again next time. Bye! Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, we're going to look at 10 different ways to use the preposition by. I'm going to cover some of the most important and most common uses of this preposition, but of course there are some other uses such as phrasal verbs and idioms and so on. Today we're going to look at 10 very important and very great to know uses of this preposition. Let's get started. Okay, first, let's look at this one, number 1 here. This is the use of by to mean near or close, referring to its position from you. So, for example, he lives by the park. He lives by the park. In this sentence, we could replace by with near or close, and the sentence would remain the same. The meaning would remain the same. He lives near the park, or he lives close to the park. Same thing with our next example. My bag is by the door. My bag is by the door. So my bag is near the door, or my bag is close to the door. Last example, she put her coffee by the computer. She put her coffee by the computer. Again, this means near. She put her coffee near the computer. So all of these refer to by as meaning close to something else. Okay, let's move on to the second use. The second use is to describe the method of travel. So we use this by along with a way of getting somewhere, like a bus, an airplane, being on foot, and so on. Here are examples. We went by bus. We went by bus. So by comes before the method of transportation. In this case, bus is our method. We went by bus. Second example, I've never traveled by train before. I've never traveled by train before. Again, by comes before the transportation type here. Okay, last example, she's coming by car. She's coming by car. So again, we have car here, our method of transportation, and in front of that is by. She's coming by car. Please note the only time that we don't use this is when we're talking about traveling on our feet. When we talk about traveling on foot, we use the expression on foot. So it's about 10 minutes on foot. We don't say by foot or by walking, really. We say on foot. So this is a special exception to this one. If you're talking about buses, trains, cars, bicycles, and so on, you can use this by method. Okay, let's go on to number 3. Number 3 is also about a method, but it's a little more open. We use by to describe methods of doing things. So there are two kind of breakdowns that I want to talk about here. The first one is using by before an ing word. So this is a way of expressing the process of something. Let's look at some examples. First, turn on the car by pressing this button. Turn on the car by pressing this button. So in this situation, we have by before this ing word, by pressing. So this sentence is saying you can turn on the car if you do this action. So this part here is telling us the method of turning on the car. Turn on this car by pressing this button. Let's look at another example. Download the file by clicking this link. Download the file by clicking this link. So again, we have by, and next is an ing word, by clicking. So clicking is this motion on the computer or tapping on a smartphone. So download the file by clicking this link. This is another way to say you can download this file if you click this link. So we're talking about the method of doing an action. One more example of this. Make an appointment by calling our office. Make an appointment by calling our office. So again, we have by followed by an ing word. Make an appointment by calling our office. So we're talking about the manner or the method by which we can do this thing. Okay, so this is the first one that I wanted to talk about. The first way that we use this by to describe the method of doing something. We always do this with an ing word after by. There is a second type that I want to talk about, and we typically use this to talk about communication, methods of communication, and methods of making payments. So in this case, we follow by with a noun that's related to communication or a noun that's related to payments. So let's look at these examples. I have 2 examples I want to talk about here and a couple of notes for you. So first example, I'd like to pay by credit card. I'd like to pay by credit card. So in this situation, it's a payment situation, right? I'd like to pay by credit card. Here we have by, followed by the noun phrase credit card, okay? So this is a very common way to express, I want to use my credit card. It's just a different way of saying, I want to use my credit card. So here we have, I'd like to pay by credit card. Okay, that's one type of payment. Maybe you have a debit card, for example. I'd like to pay by debit card. You might also hear people say, I'd like to pay by check. It's possible you might hear that depending on the region. But we also, in this kind of case, we tend to use the word with a lot, though. So for example, I'd like to pay with a credit card, or I'd like to pay with a check. We also use this when we're talking about cash. We do not use by when we want to pay with cash. We don't say, I'd like to pay by cash. Totally incorrect. We often say, I'd like to pay with cash, or I'd like to pay in cash. You might also hear no preposition. I'd like to pay cash for this, please. So these are all common ways of expressing payment, but we typically use by before a card type. I'd like to pay by card type, or maybe by bank transfer or wire transfer as well. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next one is a communication example. So when I say communication, I mean, for example, phone or fax or email or maybe online meeting and so on. So let's look at this example and then I'll talk a little bit about some other patterns that you might see here. So we sent the contract by express mail. We sent the contract by express mail. So in this situation, we're expressing a kind of communication, or in this case, transfer of information. We sent the contract by express mail. So express mail means physical mail, right? Express means fast, right? So we sent the contract by express mail. You might see this used to talk about the type of mail that was used to send something. So maybe in your country or in your region, there's like a basic kind of mail, express mail, maybe there's a special kind of super express mail, whatever. If it's important to express that kind of thing, like the level of mail, you can use by to do that. By is the most natural way to do that. However, in recent years, we use things like Skype or other online meeting things like Zoom, for example, but we don't really use by to express that. For example, if you want to talk about a meeting that you have on Skype or on Zoom, we generally don't use by to talk about that. We generally don't say, we're going to have the meeting by Zoom, or we're going to have the meeting by Skype. We don't use by in these online situations. Instead, we typically use on. We're going to have the meeting on Skype, or we're going to have the meeting on Zoom. So please keep this one in mind. So this by tends to be used to talk about mail, physical mail. You might also see it used to talk about fax, like he sent it by fax. You may also see the word via, V-I-A, used in these cases. So as you can see, there are a few different ways that we can express communication, but I just want to point out that sometimes we do use by in these cases to talk about payments and to talk about communication. But generally, if you want to express the method of doing something, this is a really easy one to remember. By plus an ing verb. Okay, that was a lot of information. Let's go along to the next one then. The next one, number 4, is by used to express a deadline. So a deadline, that means the finish point for something. So let's look at our examples. Submit your application by Friday. Submit your application by Friday. This means Friday is the deadline, so you have until Friday to do this action, okay? The next example, call me by 3 p.m. Call me by 3 p.m. So by is before the deadline for something. So 1 p.m. is okay, 2 p.m. is okay, 3 p.m. is the last chance that you have. So by comes before our deadline, our stop point for the action. Last one, finish the proposal by next month. Finish the proposal by next month. So all of these sentences mean that it's okay to do that action before the deadline. This by just marks the last possible point for something. A lot of learners ask about the difference between by and until, and I'm not going to talk about it in this lesson because there are a lot of differences, but I have a video about this, so definitely check out the by versus until video that I've made, and I hope that that will help answer your questions about those differences. Okay, let's move on to number 5. Number 5, we can use by when we want to express that we are doing something alone or that someone else is doing something alone. There's a very specific grammar point we need to keep in mind here. So let's look at these examples. First, she likes to go to the movies by herself. She likes to go to the movies by herself. So this by herself means alone, just one person. In this case, she. So she likes to go to the movies by herself. We use by before this word, herself, herself, okay? This is an example of what's called a reflexive pronoun. We're going to see this kind of pronoun in all of these example sentences, so you'll notice a pattern here. Let's look at the next one first, though. I ate lunch by myself today. I ate lunch by myself today. So I ate lunch by, again, myself. So we have this reflexive pronoun here after by. This sentence expresses I ate lunch alone today. It's just a different way to express that idea. One more example. My son got dressed by himself this morning. My son got dressed by himself this morning. So this is probably a sentence about a very, very young boy. So my son got dressed by himself. Again, reflexive pronoun. So when you want to use this by plus himself, herself, myself pattern, it always is used to express that something is happening alone. Someone is doing something alone. We will always use these reflexive pronouns to do that. So if you want to know more about reflexive pronouns, I also have a video about this topic that you can check out as well for more information. So in this example, I used herself, I've used myself and himself. We also have ourselves or themselves and so on to talk about more than one person, but in those cases, we're talking about doing something with just two people in these cases. So I hope that you check out that other video about reflexive pronouns if you want to know more about this, but this is how we use it together with by. Okay, on to the next one, number 6. Number 6 is a very simple use of by. We use by to talk about the author or the creator of something. So the creator of your favorite book, your favorite song, your favorite movie, your favorite piece of art, and so on. When you want to talk about the person who made it, you can use by to do that. For example, my favorite book was written by George Orwell. My favorite book was written by George Orwell. So by comes before the name of the person who created that thing, in this case a book. Second example, this film was directed by Christopher Nolan. This film was directed by Christopher Nolan. So we have by before the director's name, the movie director's name in this case, Christopher Nolan. So again, this is talking about the creator of a work or the director of a work. Okay, one more. Her favorite piece of music is by Beethoven. Her favorite piece of music is by Beethoven. In this case, we have just one name, Beethoven. So some artists, some creators are known by just one name, or maybe they have a performance name or something like that. If it's a very famous artist like Beethoven, for example, most people just know it by one name, and that's okay. So we use by before the creator's name to talk about the person who made something. Okay, let's move along to number 7 then. Number 7 is to pass a location or to stop somewhere for a short time. We can use by to do both of these things. And you might think, well, how do I know which is which? How do I know if it means pass or stop somewhere? Generally, we can understand from the situation, from the context. So let's take a look at these examples. First, I drove by your house today. I drove by your house today. So here I have drove, past tense of drive a car, by your house today. In this case, it means I passed by your house today. So how do we know that it means passed and it doesn't mean stop? Well, probably if I'm telling the other person, hey, I drove by your house today, I probably didn't talk to that person, right? I'm letting them know, oh, I was in your neighborhood, I was in the area. So if I stopped at the house, I would have talked to the other person, right? They probably would already know. In this case, it means pass. I passed by your house today is another way to understand that. Okay, next one. Can you please stop by the supermarket? Can you please stop by the supermarket? So here we have by before the location. Can you please stop by the supermarket? So how do we know? Does this mean pass or does this mean stop somewhere? Well, our big hints are here. Stop. Can you please stop by, which means go very quickly to the supermarket. It would be very strange to say, can you please pass the supermarket, right? This sounds like a request. We probably would start a request for something with this expression, right? So this one means, can you please stop at the supermarket very quickly for something? Okay, last one. We walked by the library yesterday. We walked by the library yesterday. Here we have walked, again, past tense, by our location, by the library. We walked by the library yesterday. This sounds like it's probably passing. We walked past the library yesterday is how we understand this. So generally, based on the situation, we can understand if it means pass or if it means stop somewhere for a short period. Okay, we're almost done. Let's continue on to number 8 now. Number 8 is using by to talk about changes or differences with numbers. Let's take a look at these examples. First one, Sales increased by 15% this year. Sales increased by 15% this year. This means that the total number of sales increased, so it went up. This by shows us how much of a change, okay? So one big question that people have is, is it to or is it by? What should I use here? Sales increased to 15% means that from some, like for example, 13% or 10% or something like that, the point that the sales reached was 15%. However, sales increased by 15% means the total change was 15%. So by and to communicate very different things. By is telling us the difference in change. To is talking about the point that was reached. So they are very different. Keep this one in mind. We tend to use this a lot with the verbs increase and decrease. Also just go up and go down. So we'll see that again in another example. So sales increased by 15% this year. That's the total change. Okay, next example. The temperature went down by 5 degrees. The temperature went down by 5 degrees. So that means the temperature decreased by 5 degrees. This means the total change was 5 degrees. For example, from 30 to 25, that's a 5-degree change, right? Again, if we say the temperature went down to 5 degrees, that means the end temperature was 5 degrees. So again, we cannot use to and by in the same way. By tells us the change or the amount of difference. Okay, last one. We missed our bus by 5 minutes. Oh, sorry, we missed our bus by 2 minutes. So this sentence is a little bit different here. So in this case, we're talking about like a change or a difference in schedule. For example, if the bus leaves at 12 o'clock, we arrive to catch the bus at 12:02, we can say we missed our bus by 2 minutes. So we can express this difference in time with by. So when you miss something or you're late for something, you can use by to do this. Like, oh my gosh, I was late for my plane by an hour. So we're expressing that difference in time with by. Okay, let's move on to number 9. Number 9 is using by for units of measurement. This one is a very straightforward and easy to remember one. So we use by to talk about the dimensions of an object. So dimensions mean the height and the length and the depth of something. So let's look at our examples. This room is 5 meters by 10 meters. This room is 5 meters by 10 meters. So we use by to talk about kind of the total area of a space. So when we're talking about the length and the width, we connect them with by. We can do this with 3 units of measurement too. So I mentioned earlier length and width and height or depth depending on the object. We can do that with something like this. Her bag is 30 centimeters by 60 centimeters by 28 centimeters. So this gives us 3 units of measurement. 30 centimeters by 60 centimeters by 28 centimeters. So we connect all of those different measurements with the word by. Okay, one more example. Our living room is about 13 feet by 18 feet. So in this case, I'm using feet as the measurement. This is a common unit of measurement in the USA. Our living room is about 13 feet by 18 feet. So typically we express 2 dimensions, 2 units of measurement at the same time in this manner. As an example sentence 1 and example sentence number 2, when we talk about a room or maybe a house or something like that. If it's an object, we might use 3 different dimensions to talk about those, but we connect all of those with by. Okay, let's move on to our last one for this lesson. The last use of by I want to talk about is with passive. So we use passive sentence structures sometimes to hide information, or if we don't know who did an action, or if we just want to focus on the effects of the action. But sometimes we want to indicate or we want to share at the end of the sentence who did the action. We can do that with by. Let's take a look. The file was sent by my coworker. The file was sent by my coworker. So a basic passive sentence is just the file was sent. The file was sent. This sentence is 100% correct. But sometimes maybe it's important to share a little bit about who did the action. In this case, we have my coworker. So who did the action? My coworker. Okay, next example. Her bag was stolen by a man on the subway. Her bag was stolen by a man on the subway. So this is answering, who stole it? A man on the subway. So we connect the two with by here. So again, her bag was stolen is perfectly fine. If you don't know who stole the bag, that's okay. You can just use that sentence. But if you want to include some extra information about who did that action, you can do it with by. Okay, last one. Our reservation was changed by the staff at the hotel. Our reservation was changed by the staff at the hotel. So who changed our reservation? The staff at the hotel. We add this information with by to the end of the basic passive sentence. So you can do this if you want to give that information and you want to use a passive sentence structure for some reason. So it's up to you if you want to use an active or a passive sentence here. That's your choice, but here is how you can share about who did that action. Just use by to do that. Okay, great. So those are 10 uses of the preposition by. As I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, of course, there are many other ways to use by. For example, we use it in phrasal verbs, we use the word by in idioms, and there are other expressions that we see by used from time to time. Of course, I cannot cover all uses of by in one video because there are too many, but I hope that these 10 uses will help you a lot and help you to understand the different ways that you can use this preposition in your communication. So I hope that this lesson was helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, or if you want to practice making some example sentences with this word, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Also, if you like this lesson, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Also, check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye! Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this video, I'm going to look at how to use the preposition to. Let's get started. Okay, first I want to talk about using the preposition to express a destination. So we use to when expressing the end point or the destination of a movement. So we can use this form of to when we talk about our travel experiences, or just when we are talking about moving inside a room, moving inside our community, and so on. So let's take a look at how we use to in this situation. First, she went to the bank. Here, to is before the destination. In this case, the bank. She went to the bank. The bank is the destination or the end point of her movement. We use this with the past tense verb. Next example is they drove to Mexico. They drove to Mexico. In this case, the destination or the end point is a country, Mexico. We put to before the end point here to mark this. Again, we have a movement verb in this sentence. So here we have drove, the past tense of drive. Our first example was went, the past tense of go. Let's look at one more example of this. Let's move this meeting to a coffee shop. Let's move this meeting to a coffee shop. So this is an expression we can use if we want to stop having a meeting somewhere and go somewhere else to continue talking. Here we have the destination or the desired, in this case, end point, a coffee shop here. So this person is making a suggestion. This is not a past tense example, but they're saying, let's move to this destination. So they're talking about a destination in the future. So we can use to before a specific endpoint for our movement. Please keep in mind you cannot use the word there in this case. Sometimes I see learners say, I want to go to there, or I lived to there, or I went to there. So we cannot use there in this position because there is not a specific endpoint. We always use a specific location at the end of this to phrase, okay? So make sure you mark those endpoints with to. Okay, let's continue to the second one. Number 2 is for recipients. Recipients. So that means we use to mark the person receiving something. So in a give and receive situation, when you want to express the person who takes the thing or who receives the thing, you can mark that person with to. Let's look at some examples. Okay, first one. Please send this file to the client. Please send this file to the client. In this case, the client is the person or the group that is receiving the file. Please send this file to the client. If it helps you, you can think of this person as the destination for something. It has kind of the same feel. That's the end point or the end person for the item. So please send this file to the client. Next one. I gave my sweater to my mother. I gave my sweater to my mother. Again, my mother is the recipient of this object, my sweater. I gave my sweater to my mother. So this is one kind of example sentence. There are other ways to talk about giving and receiving. For example, I gave my mother my sweater is also 100% correct. It's just that this is a different pattern that you can use to express this giving and receiving situation. Okay, last example. Take your application to the manager. Take your application to the manager. So again, we have our recipient here. So in the future, this person is going to take their application to this destination person, the manager in this case. So we use to mark the person who receives something or who is going to receive something. They're kind of the end person or the end point person. Okay, let's continue on to number 3 here. So number 1 and number 2 were really about marking endpoints with people and places. Number 3 is about marking an endpoint with time. So we use this a lot when we talk about our schedules. Let's look at a couple of examples and then we'll expand on this a little bit. First, the meeting is 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. The meeting is 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Here, 2 is before 3 p.m. It marks the end point for the meeting. Okay, so we put 2 before the end time of something. Let's look at one more example. Her lectures are 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Her lectures are 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Again, we have 2 before the end point, the end time for the lecture. So this is a very, very common use of 2. We use this all the time. I want to mention we often use this form of to with from. So from and to are often used as a pair to talk about the start point and the end point. So we use from before the start point and to before the end point. For example, the movie is from 6:30 to 8. The movie is from 6:30 to 8. From marks the start point, to marks the end point. One more example. I work from 9 to 5. I work from 9 to 5. Again, from is before the start point and to is before the end point. So we always use this pattern when we talk about end points. We cannot swap the 2. We need to use to before the end time. Okay, great. Let's move on to number 4 then. Number 4 also talks about an end point. We also use to refer to an end point, but this is in terms of like a maximum of something. When we talk about a range of numbers or a range of time periods, for example, when we want to talk about the last possible of something or the maximum of something, we use to do that. So let's look at these examples. First, we can accept 8 to 10 people for the event. We can accept 8 to 10 people. 8 to 10. This gives us a range of possible people. So minimum is 8 people, maximum is 10 people. Inside this range is acceptable for us. So 2 marks the maximum in this case, the maximum in our range. Okay, let's look at the second example. The meeting will be finished in 5 to 10 minutes. The meeting will be finished in 5 to 10 minutes. Again, we have a range here, 5 to 10 minutes. So when you are trying to estimate the end point of your meeting, you probably are going to use an expression like this, maybe 10 to 20 minutes. Or when you're talking about a project you're working on, it'll be finished in maybe, I don't know, 1 to 2 days. You can use this to before the end point or the maximum point for your range. So this is a very, very, very useful use of to. So 5 to 10 minutes gives us the rough start point and the maximum point for our range, the end of our range. Okay, one more. It can take 2 to 3 weeks to review job applications. it can take 2 to 3 weeks to review job applications. So again, we have our range here from 2, maybe about 2, until the maximum point in our range is 3. So again, we use 2 before that maximum end of our range point. Okay, great. So we use all of these, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are referring to some kind of end point or some kind of destination in terms of a place or in terms of a person or in terms of a time. Okay, so with this in our minds, let's continue on to some different uses. This side of the board has some kind of different uses that are important to talk about, and these are a little bit more, I guess, conceptual than the first 4 points we talked about. So first, number 5, we use to express purpose. It has the meaning of in order to do something. So we often reduce this in order to just to. So let's look at some examples so you can see what this looks like. First, I went to the store to get milk. I went to the store to get milk. So here we have this first preposition. I went to the store, right? Our destination. So there's first to here is our destination to. Then we have this purpose marking to get milk. This one tells us the purpose of our travels, right? I traveled to the store, or I went to the store in order to get milk. So this one is a purpose to. How do you know when it's a purpose to or a travel to, or I don't know? A good hint is that there's some kind of information at the beginning of the sentence. There's some kind of travel, like we see here, I went to the store. There's something that's already happening there, and then we have extra information about the reason that happened. So let's look at our second example. He bought a truck to drive to work. He bought a truck to drive to work. Here again, we have a simple past tense statement, right? He bought a truck. And then to drive to work. To drive to work. So he bought a truck in order to drive to work. So this expresses the reason he bought the truck. We use to do this. We do not use for. He bought a truck for drive to work would be incorrect. You may see some for driving patterns, like for plus the ing form. You may see that he bought a truck for driving for his job or something like that. You might see those kinds of patterns, but we cannot put to and that ing form together, and we cannot put for and drive together. We cannot mix these two, to drive or for driving, but we cannot mix them. Okay, let's look at one more example. She got a part-time job to earn some extra money. She got a part-time job to earn some extra money. Again, we have a simple past tense statement. She got a part-time job. Why? In order to earn some money. So when you see this extra information, this reason for doing something, we use to after, generally like a past tense statement, at least in these examples. We use this to plus that extra information to express the purpose of the situation. Okay, so just keep in mind that yes, there are some cases where you can use to plus that infinitive form or for plus the gerund form, but we cannot mix those two different grammar patterns. So please be careful of that. Sometimes I see that. Okay, let's move on to the last part, just some other uses. So I mentioned this just now, the infinitive verb form. The infinitive verb form is just the base verb form, the form of the verb you see in the dictionary if you look up a word in the dictionary. So we use the infinitive form with to see, or to buy, to go, or to talk. So when you are doing grammar practice or grammar studies, when you see infinitive form or infinitive verb form, it refers to this kind of base form of the verb, to plus the verb. So we use this sometimes in grammar patterns, like we just saw here, to talk about the purpose. So when you see infinitive verb form, that means the to verb form, okay? Another use I want to talk about is just with set expressions. So set expressions can mean idioms, it can mean phrasal verbs, and so on. There are lots and lots and lots of phrasal verbs and expressions that use to, but they are different from these expressions and these uses that I talked about in this lesson. So I wanted to cover a few that maybe could cause some confusion because they seem similar to points number 3 and 4 in today's lesson. So a few set expressions I want to talk about are from time to time, from A to Z, and from person to person. So what do these mean? You see this similar from to pattern here, right? But it's not like a start point and end point, really. So what does this mean? You might see people say from time to time. This expression means sometimes or occasionally. Like, I like to go to the movies from time to time. This just means sometimes. It's a casual way of saying sometimes. This expression, from A to Z, you might think, what? Is this about the alphabet? This is when we're talking about a range of something. So we use this expression, from A to Z, when we want to express that someone can do everything, or that someone is good at a wide range of things. So for example, oh, that tech company, they have so many products, they have everything covered from A to Z. That means that that company, that technology company, can do a lot of different things. So A to Z generally means that they can do everything in like a certain field or about a certain topic and so on. So you might see from A to Z used. Lastly, from person to person, from person to person. So in this expression, I have person to person, but you may see this used in terms of groups of people, like from community to community, or from city to city, or from country to country, and so on. These usually are used to talk about differences between people, differences between places, countries, maybe languages, and so on. So an example sentence with this one might be something like, opinions are different from person to person. So this means that each person has a different opinion in this example sentence. So this from person to person, or this from noun to noun, where the noun is the same here, refers to usually differences, or maybe just kind of slight differences even in each of those situations or each of those people. So these are a few set expressions that might be a little bit confusing when you see them the first time because they seem to follow this pattern, but they do have some specific uses. And of course, as I said, there are many, many phrasal verbs that use to and other prepositions, but it's not possible to cover all the phrasal verbs in one video. So I wanted to introduce these uses of to in this lesson. So that is it for this lesson. I hope that you got some good information about how and when to use to. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to practice making some example sentences with to, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Also, don't forget, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye! Want to learn new words and phrases so you can speak more? Stick around. 5 simple ways to learn new words and phrases and speak more. In this guide, you'll discover the 5 simple ways to pick up new words, how to get the words played on repeat until they're stuck in your head, the 1 science-backed learning method that will help you remember the words, how to learn through conversations instead of learning words one at a time, and much more. But first, if you don't yet have access to our language learning system, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to get your free lifetime account. So, how can you pick up new words and phrases easily? 1. Learn through conversations with conversational lessons. The most pain-free way to pick up new words is through conversations. Why? Because it's better to hear words in context and see how they're used in actual sentences instead of learning them one by one. And with our audio and video lessons, you'll hear a quick conversation between 2 native speakers. And then you'll get every grammar rule and word explained so that you understand everything and so that you know how to use the words in actual conversations. 2. The word of the day. Many of our users love this free feature because it helps them create a habit of learning the language. Every day, you get an email with a word, the definition, and the audio pronunciation. And in just a minute or less, you've picked up a new word. 3. Use our spaced repetition flashcards. Spaced repetition flashcards are a powerful way to learn words fast and actually remember them in the long run. How? Here's how they work. Just start a session and start reviewing the words. So if you get a word wrong, you'll keep getting tested on it in that session until you get it right. Once you get the word right, you'll see it again in 2 days, then 5 days, then 13 days, and so on. And this is a science-backed method called spaced repetition learning. By spacing out the words, your memory gets stronger every time you come back to that word. Except you don't have to remember to come back because the flashcards will quiz you when the time is right. So look for the flashcards in the vocabulary drop-down menu on the site. 4. Get access to hundreds of free vocabulary and phrase lists. Now, if you want to learn words around a certain topic, then check out our free vocabulary lists inside that same vocabulary drop-down menu. There, you'll find hundreds of lists around common topics such as greetings, verbs, adverbs, the weather, and much more. 5. Learn words on repeat with the vocabulary slideshow. If you're the type of person who only learns after hearing something repeated multiple times, then you'll want to check out our vocabulary slideshow study tool. You'll find it in our lessons and the free vocabulary lists. With the vocabulary slideshow, you can play the words in the example sentences on repeat, with translations, without translations, and at whichever speed you want, fast or slow, until the words get stuck in your head. So, if you want to get access to these resources and our learning system, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to get your free lifetime account. Remember, here's what you can do to learn all of these words by heart. Drill these words with our spaced repetition flashcards, which will help cement these words into your long-term memory. Save them to the word bank, your personal vocabulary collection, where you can print out your own study sheets, or review the words with our looped vocabulary slideshow, and play it until you know all of the words. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to get these lessons and study tools. Now that you're finished with this lesson, don't forget, as a free bonus, you get over 30 conversation cheat sheets, but only if you sign up via the link in the description. You'll learn how to have flowing conversations and how to answer the most common questions. You can also print out these colorful cheat sheets to keep as physical study material. So don't miss out on this free gift. Click the link in the description and sign up for a free lifetime account to get your PDF cheat sheets.